Florida is a large, diverse, quirky, weird, and interesting state. So today I thought we would jump right in and discover 50 fun, fast facts about Florida. The Florida Everglades is the only place on Earth where alligators and crocodiles coexist in the same place. There are an estimated 1.25 million alligators living in Florida, but only about 1,000 American crocodiles. Every winter, Tampa celebrates the Gasparilla Pirate Festival, a citywide party that features a massive pirate invasion of downtown from land and sea that's actually the third biggest parade in the country. As part of the ritual, the mayor officially surrenders the city to the pirates, and weeks of Gasparilla pirate-themed events follow. At about 1,200 miles, Florida has the longest coastline in the contiguous United States, with 825 miles of accessible beaches to enjoy. Wherever you are in Florida, you're never more than 60 miles from the nearest body of salt water. The state's highest natural point, Britton Hill, is only 345 feet above sea level. That's the lowest high point of any state in America. It's at the very northeast corner of the state, deep into the Panhandle, and less than half a mile from the Alabama border. The highest point on the Florida Peninsula is called Sugarloaf Mountain, even though it's really just a hill and definitely not a real mountain. It's in Lake County, near the town of Claremont, and it's a whopping 312 feet above sea level. Florida's Kissimmee Prairie Preserve State Park is the only state park in the U.S. certified by the International Dark Sky Association for its lack of light pollution. It's a popular spot for amateur astronomers to get out their telescopes and stargaze. Florida was a territory in the Spanish Empire for 280 years. That's longer than the U.S. has existed as a country. Florida has its very own legendary creature called the Florida skunk ape. Basically, think Bigfoot with a body odor. Sightings have been reported across the state for decades, but are most common around the Everglades, the Ocala National Forest, and Myakka River State Park near Sarasota. There's even a museum dedicated to it in southeast Florida near Everglades National Park. Florida has more than 1,200 golf courses, more than any other U.S. state. Appropriately, it's also home to the World Golf Hall of Fame and Museum located in St. Augustine. The Floribama Mullet Toss is an annual event that draws thousands of people to the Florida-Alabama border for a competition that involves throwing mullet for distance over the state line. Florida actually has more tornadoes than any other state, but most are pretty small, short-lived, and rarely do much damage compared to the big ones that hit the Midwest. A lot of them are even just waterspouts that spin off from the summer thunderstorms. Florida has been hit by more hurricanes than any other state. September is typically the busiest month for hurricanes, but October is the month that has seen the most Florida landfalls. South Florida now has a big problem with invasive Burmese pythons and iguanas running around in the wild. Some estimates say there are now between 100 and 300,000 Burmese pythons in the Everglades. Florida's largest river, the St. Johns River, is one of only a few major rivers in the world that run from south to north. The city of Fort Lauderdale is known as the Venice of America because of its canal system, with 165 miles of local waterways. And the beach town of Venice over on the Gulf Coast is known as the shark tooth capital of the world, because millions of fossilized shark's teeth are hidden in the sand and can be found by sifting through it. Jacksonville in square miles is the largest city in the contiguous United States. You could fit all of Chicago, Boston, Miami, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., and Manhattan inside of it. Because it's so vast, Jacksonville is technically the most populated city in Florida, but it ranks 4th in metro population behind Orlando, Tampa, and Miami. Jacksonville is named after Andrew Jackson, who was briefly the governor of the territory of Florida for a few months in 1821, a few decades before Florida was even a state, but he never even visited the town in his lifetime. Miami is the largest metro area in Florida, and it's actually closer to the capital of 2 other countries than it is to the capital of Florida. It's about 180 miles to Nassau, the capital of the Bahamas, and about 230 miles to Havana, the capital of Cuba, but it's a full 400 miles from Miami to Tallahassee. Miami is the only metropolitan area in the United States that borders 2 national parks. Everglades National Park, and Biscayne Bay National Park. Florida is considered the lightning capital of the United States, with the Tampa Bay area in particular seeing the most lightning strikes. They see so much lightning during summer thunderstorms, they named the NHL team after this natural phenomenon. An average of about 1,000 people move to Florida each and every day. Most of them are coming from places like New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Illinois. In 2014, Florida overtook New York to become the third most populated state in the country. Bayshore Boulevard in Tampa is the world's longest stretch of continuous sidewalk. It runs 4.5 miles along the waterfront and is popular for walkers, joggers, and cyclists. The sand on Siesta Key Beach near Sarasota is considered the finest white sand in the world. It's 99% quartz and so reflective that it's cool to walk on even on the hottest days, and has the consistency of powdered sugar. Walt Disney World Resort employs over 70,000 people. That's the highest number of people employed by one company at the same location in the world. The resort is roughly the size of the city of San Francisco. Key West has more bars per capita than any other city in the country. There's over 40 bars on Duval Street alone, which is only just about a mile long and runs from north to south in the western half of the island, connecting the Atlantic Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico. 18% of Florida's surface is covered in water. The state is covered in lakes, springs, wetlands, and of course, the Everglades. But it has only 3 natural waterfalls. The largest is at Falling Waters State Park in the Florida Panhandle, where water falls 73 feet down into a sinkhole. Florida produces about 75% of the nation's oranges and about 40% of the world's orange juice supply. Polk County is the top citrus producing county in Florida and is home to Florida's Natural Orange Juice Factory. The very first scheduled commercial passenger flight took place in Florida on January 1st, 1914, operating between Tampa and St. Petersburg. The flight across Tampa Bay took 23 minutes in a flying boat biplane piloted by legendary aviator Tony Jannus. Before this route opened, it took a full 5 hours by train to get between the two cities. St. Augustine is the oldest continuously occupied European settlement in the country, and it has changed hands 5 times. It was founded by the Spanish Empire in 1565, who held on to it for over 200 years until they gave it to the British Empire in 1763, who then gave it back to Spain 20 years later, who gave it to the United States in 1821. Then Florida joined the Confederacy in 1861, but the town was taken by Union forces just a year later, where it has remained ever since. The Castillo de San Marcos is the oldest masonry fort in the United States and is one of the oldest buildings in North America. It was completed in 1695 to defend the town against invasion from pirates and the British Empire. It's seen plenty of action, being attacked numerous times, and was under siege by the British twice. Today it's part of a national park system and a very popular tourist attraction. Tallahassee is the capital of the state, but it's also home to the National High Magnetic Field Laboratory. This facility is the largest, highest-powered magnet lab in the world, conducting magnetic field research in physics, biology, and chemistry. The Cross of Burgundy in Florida's official state flag is a nod to Florida's origin as a Spanish colony. The flag of Spain, the first to fly over Florida, featured a similar burgundy cross. The Florida Reef is the only living coral barrier reef in the continental United States. It is the 3rd largest coral barrier reef system in the world after the Great Barrier Reef and the Belize Barrier Reef. It's about 360 miles long and runs from Dry Tortugas National Park up along the Florida Keys and up to around near Jupiter, Florida. The area code for Florida's Space Coast region is 321. This was done as an intentional tribute to Cape Canaveral and that part of Florida's contribution to the space program. It's an 875-mile drive from Pineville, Florida, a small town in the Northwest Panhandle, to Key West. That's the 3rd longest drive without ever leaving the same state in the lower 48. Only California and Texas have longer in-state drives. Florida is a bird watcher's paradise with a huge variety of species to see, and it's second only to Alaska in the number of bald eagles that nest there. St. Petersburg's nickname is the Sunshine City because it holds the Guinness World Record for the longest stretch of sunny days in America. Back in 1967, St. Petersburg saw 768 straight days of sunshine. Lake Okeechobee is the largest lake in Florida and the largest natural freshwater lake in the lower 48 that's not part of the Great Lakes. Florida's official state gem is the Moonstone, even though it isn't even naturally found in Florida. In 1970, the Florida State Legislature made it the state gem to memorialize the astronauts who landed on the moon in 1969 after launching from Cape Canaveral. The Florida Keys are home to the southernmost national and state parks in the continental U.S. Fort Zachary Taylor State Park in Key West is the country's southernmost state park, and Dry Tortugas National Park is the country's southernmost national park. It's about 68 miles from Key West and accessible only by boat or by plane. Key West is the hottest city in America with a daily average temperature of 78.1 degrees Fahrenheit. In second place is Miami with a daily average high of 76.7 degrees. 7 of the 10 hottest cities in the U.S. are in Florida. Silver Springs State Park in Ocala is Florida's oldest tourist attraction. It opened in 1888 and became world famous for the glass-bottom boat rides over the crystal-clear spring-fed waters. The original owners of Silver Springs once intentionally released Rhesus macaque monkeys into the park to make the boat rides even more interesting, and a large colony of over 300 monkeys still live there today. St. Augustine is the longest occupied European settlement in America, but Pensacola was actually the first. Pensacola was first established by Spanish settlers in 1559, 6 years before St. Augustine was. But a hurricane destroyed the settlement shortly after, and they gave up on the place, saying it was just too dangerous to stay there. Pensacola wouldn't be resettled for another 108 years in 1667. Florida has more buildings in the iconic Art Deco style of architecture than any place in the world, most famously in Miami. Miami's Art Deco district has over 960 buildings of historical significance and is listed as a United States Historical District to protect this beloved style. The sport of auto racing was first born on Daytona Beach in 1903 when legend says 2 men made a bet to see who owned the fastest horseless carriage and took to the hard-packed sands in what would become the world's first auto race. The sport took off from there, and eventually official NASCAR races were being held on the beach up until 1958. The very first Daytona 500 took place a year later in 1959 at the brand new Daytona International Speedway. Finally, my favorite, and I think that somebody should make a movie out of this story someday. Back in 1982, Key West seceded from the Union and was its own independent country for a total of 2 full minutes. They called themselves the Conch Republic. Key West's mayor, Dennis Wardlow, declared himself the prime minister of the new nation, announced they were seceding from the Union, then declared war against the United States by hitting a nearby Navy officer over the head with a loaf of stale Cuban bread. Within 2 minutes, though, he surrendered and requested $1 million in foreign aid to rebuild the republic. This was all done in protest of a roadblock that the Border Patrol had put on the only highway leading in and out of the Keys, which caused a traffic nightmare and hurt tourism. The idea was that if the federal government was going to treat Key West like a foreign country, they were going to act like one. The protest worked and the roadblock was removed. So thanks for watching. If you liked this video and you want to learn more interesting and fun things to do around the state of Florida, hit subscribe and click that bell so you'll be notified the next time we upload videos.